Every single one of you has abilities. It's just that there's too much noise in most of our lives for the perception to land. From a psychological point of view, intuition and psychic perception is basically pattern recognition, introspection, reading your own body signals, sensitivity to micro cues, memory and meaning making. When the nervous system is overloaded, it prioritizes survival and turns down the sensitivity. So dormant often means protected. From my view, from a flame view, abilities don't disappear. They just get sealed behind these standards, different standards for different people. And if your life has weak boundaries, poor recovery, and constant emotional absorption, your system will not open the channel because it would flood you with too much information. Gifts don't open in chaos. They open in coherence. There is a method to opening things up, one thing obviously at a time, but you must recognize that your nervous system has been on survival mode for so long. So while it seems to be easy for other people to receive information or to have a very, very strong intuitive impulse or to work in this industry, it is most likely because they have actually worked on the receiving end of things. Many psychics, mediums, and all sorts of spiritual people haven't in fact worked on their own triggers and on their own emotional boundaries, and in a sense overgive all of the time. Chronic nervous system activation causes constant alertness with no real subtle perception. Emotional absorption, is where there are boundaries that are porous. Like someone asks you to do something and you feel obliged to do it. You can't tell what's your information or what you're feeling and what is actually something that you've absorbed from others. There's a distrust of the self, an over-reliance on external validation all of the time. So if you keep asking others what you feel, your inner signal weakens. There's a shame or a fear of being wrong. So perception gets blocked by perfectionism. There's a lifestyle mismatch. Sleep deprivation, excessive scrolling, substances, dehydration, low protein minerals, and just overextending yourself, living in chronic stress and chemical imbalances as well. These blunt your perception fast. There's also spiritual bypass training where people try to jump to visions and jump to the answers and become pop-up, people who give messages just like randomly without grounding in the body. And the body begins to refuse this. So in order for you to be a very, very clear channel of intuitive information, and perhaps you want to help others, or maybe you just want to know for yourself, you have to understand your own patterns, and you have to understand your nervous system and how this has been strained because of so much trauma, abuse, betrayal, rejection, fear, all of the negative sort of experiences that we can have in life. What happens is that if you are also someone who is constantly looking for answers or constantly scrolling or constantly waiting on a psychic to give you a message, you are ignoring your own inner signals and your own standards, and you are outsourcing this information to other people. There is nothing wrong with getting advice from others and being helped in this way. However, you can learn how to reset your nervous system, how to refuse all of these looping bits of information and narratives that are coming and going, and people's feelings and families' feelings and all of this. And you can learn how to be extremely strong in your standards, strong in your center, and not allowing the outside influences to continue to rule your life. When you can do this, when you can have that peaceful, clean energy, what happens is that you don't need anything outside of yourself. You start to really trust the messages that you already receive, but were filtered out by so much outside noise. So, one thing you can do is create some clean inputs for 72 hours. This means to lower the things that you know are harming you, reducing the scrolling or the doom scrolling, avoiding conflict as much as possible, and conflicting content as well. But you're doing this to give yourself a cleaner signal. If you don't want a cleaner signal, then you continue just going how you are. But if you can do this for 72 hours, where you're really starting to acknowledge how you're feeling about certain situations, whether something's worth your time or worth your energy, or whether you're constantly riding on your nervous system into an anxious result. So, step 2 is to build a boundary habit. Twice daily, okay, for 30 seconds, say to yourself, this is not mine. I'm returning all false energy back to wherever it came from. My field is sealed. I'm dissolving all cords and connections with others, keeping for yourself a strong firewall of energy around you, which will help you to remember to continue to disconnect yourself. Rebuild your interoception, the psychic foundation. So before checking your phone to see what the energy is for the day, ask yourself, what am I feeling? What is the energy today? What am I feeling? What is my body feeling? What is something that I can do that will help myself today? And do this checking in with yourself, just trusting that input that you already have. And then journal the tiny things that come up. Journal this. So a lot of the times you're encouraged to write things down. Sometimes people forget or they just don't do that. But the more that you can write things, the more things become ingrained in your being. Never read anybody else without their consent. This is where a lot of problems start happening. Always close off all of your channels, and this keeps your nervous system centered and stable. Don't tolerate any disrespect. Don't over-explain yourself, looking at people-pleasing behaviors within, and don't betray yourself either. So make sure that if you are really willing to continue to awaken and open, that you're also willing to have a clean and stable system. Your nervous system has been on overload your whole entire life, so your body naturally reacts and triggers to certain situations. However, just as you taught yourself to survive in a certain way, you can actually teach yourself to survive in a stronger, more powerful, more connected way. And you'll never need to look outside of yourself again. So this is just a quick little message for you today to help you to reset, to recenter, to remain calm. Okay, you can see longer videos on YouTube, or you can join my Patreon page and come to webinars every single month. Would love to have you so that you can learn how to become the strongest version of yourself. Sending blessings to all. This is BDevine. Thanks for stopping by.